What is going on, everybody? Depraved Slasher here. We are back with another music reaction. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
Together we are
HellaDepraved.
Alright. Somebody had said that they liked our little bit of horror gaming content.
Right.
And What Culture Horror put up another horror gaming video.
Oh,
I actually think both the videos we watched today were put on other channels at one point.
Oh, okay.
And then transferred over. I don't know. That's what I think. I could be wrong, though.
Okay. All right. So some of these I may have seen, some of these I may not. Just simply whatever I picked up from all the people in my life that are gamers.
Right.
And I do enjoy watching this stuff that I can, not first person.
Right. But yeah, so we are now going to enter the realm of horror gaming.
All right.
But yeah, so with that being said, we're going to react to this if you guys have already seen it. If not, click the link in the description below, hop on over to do all the things, then come on back. And we say that because we're a commentary, reaction, breakdown comedy channel. And what that means is we will pause for any and or all of the above. So with that being said, it is time to slash it up and break it down. This is What Culture Horror with 10 video game cutscenes that still haunt you.
And a kitten jingling in the background for your pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
As a general rule, death is something that games teach you to avoid at all costs. No one likes having hours of progress flushed down the toilet, and no one likes what...
No.
Are we plugged in all the way?
Yes.
watching character.
Oh.
Our connection wasn't friendly.
No, sometimes when you unplug it and you plug it back in, it just doesn't work.
Right. It wasn't friendly.
Weird.
As a general rule, death is something that games teach you to avoid at all costs. No one likes having hours of progress flushed down the toilet, and no one likes watching characters they care about get murdered before their eyes. Some games, however, push this even further by having special cutscenes dedicated to putting the protagonist through the most horrific situations imaginable. Hours of animating art and scripting work, all with a single purpose: to let you know that you just messed up really bad. While some of these deaths or otherwise traumatizing moments are unavoidable, others are specifically tailored scenes based on whatever painful way your hero just kicked the bucket. While a simple game over screen might not leave much of a lasting impression, sometimes games are intent on utterly traumatizing you. I'm Jess for What Culture, and here's 10 of the most brutal video game cutscenes that still haunt you to this day. Number 10, Lara getting skewered, Tomb Raider 2013.
That is such a good choice.
Good death. Huh? I do enjoy Tomb Raider.
No, she doesn't die here.
No, I said in general, I enjoy, this is one of the ones that I've enjoyed I don't know, little scenes from. I haven't seen a lot of the playthrough, but I've seen some of it.
Such a fantastic game.
2013's Tomb Raider reboot was a triumphant return to a series that had become increasingly risk-averse in previous years, and serves as an origin story for a more fleshed-out human Lara Croft. Among other additions, it featured gripping Uncharted-style set pieces, a semi-open world, and what was, at the time, one of the most satisfying bows in gaming. The game also took a bloodthirsty glee in how many creative and cruel ways it could murder its heroine. Not content to ever let the player relax for more than a few brief moments, many action-heavy cutscenes also featured QTEs the player would need to succeed in if they wanted to avoid Lara getting mulched into hamburger meat. Pickaxe through the chest, there's a scene for that. Getting crushed by a giant boulder, there's a scene for that. Lara getting her face chewed off by hungry wolves, you better believe there's a scene for that. As brutal as these scenes all were, none quite match the nonchalant callousness the game shows when it casually decides to skewer Lara through the throat with a sharpened stick because you didn't slide down a hill quite the way it wanted you to.
Wow!
Number 9, a bloater borrowing...
Hey! Wow! Okay, alright.
Yeah.
I like it.
I never once said to have CC on. Oh,
I like it.
Such a fun game. I actually didn't play it when it first came out. I waited to see what reviews were like.
Right.
And to see what people said about it. Now, when I play video games, I don't go based off of the reviewer scores. Same way in like movies, I don't go off of scores. I go through and see what people liked and what they didn't like about a movie. Because a lot of times I like things people don't like,
Right.
and a lot of times I don't like things people do like.
But at least you kind of have an idea of what the movie has in it.
Right.
Is kind of the thing. So yeah, if there's controller issues, for example, you're not going to want to play.
Right.
Yeah. Or pay for it.
Oh, I didn't unmute it.
That time.
That was
our
me.
fault. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Ugh. Number 9. A bloater borrowing Joel's face. The Last of Us. As every true fan of The Last of Us knows, Joel canonically survived the events of the horror masterpiece and then would go on to live forever. This didn't stop the 2013 game, including a lot of hypothetical death scenes for the nicest man in gaming.
So the go on to live forever is a joke. Because fans were extremely upset that Joel dies in the second game.
Right.
And you're forced to play as Ellie? I think it was Ellie.
Okay.
Which was so like you played him throughout most of the first game. You had a couple moments where you played as Ellie. And then the second game they kill him off, and you pretty much played the rest of the game as Ellie. And people were so pissed.
Okay.
And it's like it has to have some.
It's a video game. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Well, it's not just that. It's telling a story. There's got to
Right.
be higher stakes and something to emotionally
about.
crush you.
Care about.
Right.
It's like every novel ever. They always kill the favorite characters.
Exactly.
Always. I mean, look at Hedwig.
Right. Who?
The owl.
Who?
The owl.
Who?
He knows who I was talking about.
Yes.
It's never too soon.
13 game, including a lot of hypothetical death scenes for the nicest man in gaming. And perhaps none were quite as disturbing as watching Joel get his face torn off by a bloater in the basketball court of an abandoned school.
Such
Up
a
until
good
this
game.
point in the game, you've only had to deal with a couple of different types of mushroom zombies, both of which go down fairly easily. It's a big shock then when you finally
Oh,
face off against the
no.
chunky, gas-hurling bloater, who'll likely take every last shell in your inventory before it finally goes down. Oh, and if this wasn't enough, the thing will also kill Joel instantly if you let him get too close to it. Death may seem fairly mundane in The Last of Us's post-apocalyptic world, but there's nothing standard about the way the bloater tears Joel's face apart like an unwanted piece of junk mail. Number 8, Emily's
Alright.
optician's appointment.
I've loved every game they've shown so far. Last of Us was a very interesting game. Because they take your typical zombie story but change how the zombies come to be.
Right.
It's based off of the fungus that takes over ants,
Oh, okay, okay.
but in a grander scale.
Right, okay. All right, making zombie ants, okay, makes sense. All right, got it.
And of course, like, these are a couple of the last few people
That
that are
survived.
known on Earth. And she had got bit, but didn't transform. So she, Ellie, being
Yeah.
she is thought to be the cure.
Well, her blood, yeah.
Well, in order for them to do what they need to that they need to do, this is what doesn't make sense. So in order for them to do what they need to do to use her blood to make a cure, they actually say they have to kill her. Because so your game, you're tasked with taking her across the country to get her to
Right.
the spot. And once you get her there, they're like, yeah, well, we're going to have to kill her. And you're just kind of like, nah, fuck that.
Right.
And you save her. And
Which makes no sense.
Last of Us is still one of the few games that no matter how many times I play through it, the first 10 minutes will make me cry.
I mean, because if she has a titer in her blood, that means that she has created the white blood cells that fight the pathogen. You don't want to kill her. You would want to keep her. I mean, like, she may wish she was dead, because in order to, take that and make a vaccine of some kind, like, they'd have to continually kind of drain her. I mean, I'm just working off of the dystopian fantasy premise that there's very few people left. Like, I'm guessing they don't have, like, the best of the best, because honestly, at this point, they take samples of the person's blood and can work from that. But yeah,
Right.
you wouldn't want her dead. You would need her alive to keep producing the antibodies, just in case your lab work screwed up.
At least that's what you'd think.
I
Yeah, the ending of the game itself, like their whole premise on why they have to do that doesn't make any sense.
right.
But
Think maybe they should have contacted somebody about that one.
Until Dawn is a fantastic game. It is a
I've heard that.
horror game based on, like, you're actually in a slasher movie.
I've heard great things about
And
this.
you make decisions, and you make what you feel is the decision you should make. And sometimes the decisions you think that will keep people alive
Kill everybody.
kills them, and sometimes vice versa.
Alright.
There was one lady I was trying to get killed,
And you ended up
and
saving
every
her.
time I picked what I thought for sure would be the thing to get her killed, she lived further and further into the fucking story.
It's like choose your own ending, only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. All right.
Until Dawn. Supermassive's 2015 interactive horror film Until Dawn is still an excellent spook fest in 2020. And one of its best features is how it knowingly utilizes the sorts of tropes that make lesser games fall flat. Until Dawn knows a simple truth, namely that most horror protagonists are unlikable idiots. You'll have as much fun letting Until Dawn's cast die as saving them, and perhaps none are more unlikable than abrasive mean girl Emily.
Her.
There are several
You
ways
tried to get her
Emily can
dead.
meet her end. You can even have one of the other characters shoot her if you're having a particularly bad day. But none are as brutal as watching the ghoulish Wendigo perform impromptu eye surgery on her, a la Blade Runner. The difference is that Rutger Hauer didn't have a set of 3-inch claws. Ouch.
Number 7.
X gon' give it to you.
Alright.
Resident Evil 2 Remake.
X gon'
By
give
the
it to
time
ya.
we find reporter Ben Bertolucci locked up in a cell next to Raccoon PD's parking garage, there's a good chance we've got no real idea what the hulking, relentless Mr. X is actually capable of. We've seen him casually move a crashed helicopter out of his path, sure. But if we've been playing well, there's no chance we've actually let the buffest man to ever wear a fedora anywhere near us. Then we meet poor Ben, who's locked himself up to stay safe from Raccoon City's terrors. It works too, at least until Mr. X breaks through the wall behind him, grabs his head, and pops it like a grape. This alone would be terrifying enough, but the game's camera doesn't miss the opportunity to linger on the reporter, formerly known
not.
as Ben's freshly popped eyeball, dangling out of the remains of his skull. Tasty. Number 6.
YouTube will demonetize us. That's fantastic.
I had never played the actual remake. I've played the original.
Okay.
Um,
I really like the sort of just pop culture references they drop in here, like X gon' give it to ya. It's just fun. Adds a little flavor, you know. Yeah. I
I've
don't
never
know.
played Baldur's Gate either.
I'll never get over just the zombies puking in Resident Evil. Honestly, that's comedic to me. Like that's what it is, but it's just the fact that that was added into the game. It's fantastic.
I'm surprised we're... this is what, number 5? 6?
Something like that.
We're like about halfway through the list, and this is the first game I haven't played.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, this isn't the first game I haven't played. I haven't played Resident Evil 5. Or Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Right.
But I played the
But you
original.
played the original, yeah.
So I mean,
6. Mind Parasite, make yourself at home. Baldur's Gate 3. When most people picture Dungeons & Dragons, glorious tales of adventure spring to mind. Warm, welcoming taverns overflowing with delicious ale, brave heroes facing off against noble, terrifying dragons, solving fiendish riddles to gain entrance to ancient ruins. Larian Studios, however, have decided that Dungeons & Dragons is all about a bloated purple worm with approximately 40 billion teeth burrowing its way through the gap between your eyeball and your brain, and making itself as snug as a bug in the deep recesses of your skull. What's worse, you get a front row first person seat to watch this thing saunter on down to the back of the bus. In this metaphor, the bus is your head. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't going to let you forget you've got a disgusting parasitical stowaway nesting in your cerebellum anytime soon either. Barely a conversation goes by where the ticket-dodging worm doesn't make itself known, whether by randomly granting you freaky psychic powers or just causing you tremendous catastrophic migraines. We hope you brought some ibuprofen. Number 5,
Not gonna
playing
cut
with
it.
scissors.
Ooh,
Outlast.
I like Outlast.
Outlast Mount Massive Asylum is a chaotic place, so it's a reassuring comfort to know that you can at least turn to its consummately professional medical staff in case of an emergency. One such professional is self-styled surgeon Rick Traeger, who's courageous enough to give player character Miles a relaxing break in a wheelchair before giving him a free checkup. What a gent. After offering to take Rick outside to enjoy the fresh mountain air,
Why do I get the feeling he's not entirely altruistic?
Wonder what gave that away.
I don't know. Must be the bare feet.
Possibly.
Yeah, no surgeon I know.
This is a rough game. Like, you'd never be able to watch me play through this.
I already, the first person and kind of shaky angles and
gent. After offering to take Rick outside to enjoy the fresh mountain air, Traeger wheels the journalist into his surgery room, where he gives a delightful lecture on economics and then offers to remove Rick's troublesome fingers with a pair of bone scissors. Again, a true gentleman. A fantastically creepy voice performance from actor Alex Ivanovici, coupled with the protagonist's rapid breathing and screams of anguish, make this a nightmarishly memorable cutscene. Number 4, All My Friends Are Dead, Mass Effect 2.
I've never played Mass Effect 2. I played through... Okay, so my buddy let me borrow the collection.
Mass Effect? Okay.
And because there's 3 of them. Well, now there's like 4 going on 5.
Right.
But at the time it was Mass Effects 1 through 3. And I made it through the first game and decided I didn't want to continue. Because I wasn't really enjoying the story.
Oh, okay.
And the gameplay was a little weird. Especially when driving your vehicle when you were trying to collect, like, things
Okay.
on planets, resources.
All right.
But I've heard a lot of people say that Mass Effect 2 is the best one in the series, so I shall probably never know.
Right.
Okay, so this one is far less gory than some of the others, but that doesn't make it any less emotionally traumatizing. The Mass Effect series is well loved for having some of the best character writing in any RPG series. Mass Effect 2 uses that writing to get you completely invested in its cast, then should you make a few bad choices, actually a lot of bad choices, ripping them away from you and leaving you alone in the cold emptiness of space. The second Mass Effect game is often viewed as the series' Empire Strikes Back for its grittier, belly of the beast tone, and nothing is more emblematic of this than the infamous suicide mission that acts as its finale. To the game's credit, it does go out of its way to repeatedly remind you that you should probably do some preparation for the practically impossible mission. Should you choose to ignore this advice, however, you can look forward to a heartbreaking hour of watching everyone you care about die horribly. Number 3, The Goggles Do Nothing, Clock Tower 3.
Thank you! Clock Tower 3, I swear, is one of, like, the most forgotten survival horror video games ever made. Like, this game is so fantastic and one of my favorites.
Okay. All right.
Leave the light alone, you shit.
Sometimes it's not enough for a brutal cutscene to shock you, gross you out, or otherwise make you want to boil your eyes. Sometimes a cutscene has that special something that makes it genuinely disturbing. Cult horror classic Clock Tower 3 has one such scene. The game follows protagonist Alyssa and separates itself from other survival horror titles by only really having one enemy to deal with at a time, albeit one that pursues you relentlessly throughout. Each chapter introduces a new foe alongside a backstory for them. The second terror she meets is Kuroda, a serial killer who murders his victims with acid. Kuroda alone isn't all that terrifying,
Like the acid
but the
bath
game
killer.
introduces his backstory in a cutscene that's equal parts heartbreaking and disturbing. Alyssa experiences a ghostly flashback where the Kuroda invades the home of an elderly woman and her son, gleefully shrieking as he traps them both in a vat of acid. Words really can't do it justice, which is probably for the best. Number 2, Struggification, Quake 4. You can't make a horrifically malformed cybernetic demon without buzzsawing off a few limbs, as the old saying goes. No game knows this better than FPS
Is it
Quake
saying?
4, which buys you a front row seat to the entire process of turning a human into one of those monstrosities. We hope you weren't all that attached to your legs, although you won't be needing them where you're going.
Nebula.
Quake 4's infamous struggification scene straps you into the world's worst theme park ride for one of gaming's most uncomfortable first-person cutscenes. What makes the whole thing worse is that there's someone right in front of you having the exact same thing happen to them. So you get to see every agonizing detail play out before it's your turn in the spotlight. But hey, at least you got some nice new robot legs, painfully welded onto the bloody stumps of where your own legs used to be, but still. Number 1. Happy Families, Outlast Whistleblower. Another entry from the Outlast series, sure, but no other game really does.
Is it really another entry? Or I guess technically, yeah, it would be another entry. So, Whistleblower was the DLC.
Okay.
Like an extra story.
Yeah.
From the first Outlast. And it was alright. I'm actually glad they put this scene in here because I thought this was the most fucked up scene in all the Outlast games.
Okay. I mean, the last one reminds me a bit of Hellraiser 2.
Right.
Where the surgeon willingly, goes and gets modified and then is trying to modify everyone around him. Although, obviously, they were much nicer, more polite in the game here because they replace your limbs.
Right.
Just saying.
Those traumatizing cutscenes quite like it. Plus, this one's in keeping with the buzzsaw theme from Quake 4. Strap in, this one's a doozy. Outlast Whistleblower is home to hopeless romantic Eddie Gluskin, a homicidal maniac intent on finding the perfect bride. Unfortunately, it's slim pickings in Mount Massive, so Eddie is forced to rely on less conventional methods. I won't detail those methods here, but protagonist Waylon Park gets to experience them up close from inside a locker before Gluskin ties Park down for his own romantic evening. 2 years before Kojima did it, Outlast Whistleblower managed to leave players with enough phantom pain to last.
Okay. Alright, I mean, he's just playing matchmaker.
He cut off a penis.
Well, I mean, I kind of figured.
Yeah.
Spare part.
Made the list.
Haha.
It was an okay list. I don't know, I guess I was expecting more stuff like Outlast Whistleblower scene.
Right.
And less stuff like ways you can die in a video game.
Right.
Like, I would not have necessarily put Laura being skewered on her way down.
Yes. Right. Although that was a good cutscene.
Right.
But again, it is just a way you can die. Whereas watching a Lorena Bobbitt scene is going to make any guy extraordinarily uncomfortable.
Right.
So, I mean, what's going to haunt you?
The good news is...
And honestly, I probably would have gone with more visceral things in terms of emotions, too. I mean, you were talking about how...
No.
Some of them, actually get you in your feels, get emotions running, and you cry. I mean, you don't necessarily cry when... I mean, you rage when your character dies, but, like, it's the more visceral attachments that would haunt... I'm just going with the that still haunt you theme. You know what I mean?
Right. Like a prime example with what you're saying, there's 2 video game cutscenes specifically that have actually gotten me to cry. One of them I actually had to walk away from for about 20 minutes, and that one was actually Gears of War 2. There's a scene where about midway through the game, so the main character is Marcus Phoenix, and you're fighting against these horde of monsters called the Locusts. And it's like an all-out war between humanity and Locusts.
Right.
But about halfway through the game, the secondary character, whose name is Dom, starts telling you about how you're not able to find your wife, and so on and so forth. So
does he live his life a quarter mile at a time?
No.
Sorry.
So he goes and attempts... they get like a call or something saying that they think they found his wife, and they send the coordinates, and you go and you find her. And at that point, when you do find her, she's already been captured by the Locusts and turned into a slave to the point where her mind's no longer there. Like, she's just this mindless, withered away, like they haven't been feeding her, so she's skin and bones person, and Dom makes the hard decision to kill her. That was the one I had to walk away from.
Right.
After watching it,
Understandable.
I was like, I need about 10 minutes.
Right.
The Last of Us. So, in the very beginning of the game,
You said it's the beginning, yeah.
You're playing as Joel's daughter. It's not Elle.
Right.
It's his actual daughter. And you're getting things together for your dad's birthday. And you get some things together, and then you both decide to lay down on the couch to watch TV. And as you're watching TV, that's when the zombie outbreak happens. Except it's not like a slow zombie outbreak. Like, it's very quick. And you and her end up getting out. Your brother comes to help you try and get away. Eventually, I don't remember if the car wrecks or you decide to bail on the vehicle. But you start running, and your daughter hurts herself, or she got hurt in the wreck. So you're carrying her. And as you're carrying her, you get to this part where there's like this hill, and the army comes down. And the guy that is like, "Sir, we've got a couple here." And you hear the general over the radio go, "Waste them." He's like, "But sir, there's a little, he's got a daughter, there's a little girl." And he's like, "I don't care."
Ugh.
And the army dude pulls his gun up and starts firing, and like, you try to like shield her, but like the damage had already been done.
Right.
And by the time you come to, she's dead.
Right.
All that fucked me up.
But see, I mean, like, I guess I'm saying that they're cut scenes that still haunt you.
Right.
And so I would have gone with those because they're more visceral and they're the things that you...
Well, so I think they're
going
saving...
with the horror motif.
Right. I'm pretty sure those would be specifically in like the top 10 tearjerker moments.
Right. I get what they're saying, but I'm just saying that, like, you pointed out, just ways you can die is not stuff that haunts you. It's like, oh my god, that was brutal, that was cool. But it's
Right.
not a haunt you like this last one was. So, anyway, I still thought they were cool scenes.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, they were super cool scenes. But yeah, the skewering of Lara Croft, it's a good one, but it wouldn't be something that would haunt me later necessarily. So.
Right. But yeah, so, with that being said, if you guys liked the video, slash that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, comment down below what did you think of What Culture Horror with 10 video game cutscenes that still haunt you. Also comment down below if there's anything else you guys want to see reacted to. Check the description below for all the things.
Push our buttons, come join us on our other social media platforms, mostly Twitter if you want a quicker response.
With that being said, we love you guys. Thank you all for watching. Cannot wait to see you depraved people later.